In today's video, I want to dive deep with you into the fascinating world of habit building. Have you ever wondered why some people have such a hard time to stick to their habits, while others seem so consistent, so disciplined, and so successful? Good, because that's exactly what I want to talk with you today in this video about. In this video, I want to share with you a little bit more about the psychology of habit building and what it actually takes to form new habits. I also want to give you practical tips on how to kickstart your habit building process, and I want to reveal the key to making them stick. So I would say, let's get started. Hi, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Julia Arndt and I'm a peak performance coach and stress management trainer. If you are a busy professional and you're looking for ways to de-stress, to find a better work-life balance and create productivity systems in order to free up space to have a life, then I am super excited that you're here, because that's exactly what this channel is for. So if you are a busy professional, make sure that you subscribe to this channel and check out all the other videos that I have for you on my YouTube channel. So without further ado, let's jump into the first part of today's video, which is the psychology of habit building. What is actually the secret behind habits? And it starts in our brain. It starts in your brain. Because your brain was wired to create automatic processes in order to save time and energy and create more space for other cognitive processes. That's why you are creating habits, and that's why they are automatic, and that's why sometimes it is very difficult to break them, because they have become so automatic that you literally have to create a lot of awareness and, at the beginning as well, a lot of energy in order to break through them and consciously make decisions to do something differently to the way you have been doing them before, because your brain is always trying to keep you in this one lane, in this automatic process that you have been doing over and over and over again, oftentimes for many years. But it is obviously not impossible. Every habit follows a particular pattern called the habit loop. And it consists of three particular pieces. Number one, it's the cue. The second piece is the behavior. And the third one is the reward. So first of all, obviously, there is a cue that initiates the behavior that you're going to do. Then you have the behavior, so whatever action it is that you usually take when that cue is happening. And then third of all, you feel a reward. So you feel positive emotions, maybe positive hormones are released in order to make you kind of signal that it was good what you were doing. What is really important to know is that your brain doesn't know the difference between what is good for you and what is bad for you. Your brain only knows what you have been repeatedly doing over and over and over again. Let me explain. For example, you wake up in the morning and the first thing that you do, so waking up in the morning would be your cue, it would be that initiating situation. You wake up in the morning and you roll over to your bedside table and you grab your phone. So grabbing your phone is the behavior. And the reward is that you're probably scrolling through social media and the messages that you have received overnight, and it makes you feel good. That is a habit that you have formed, no matter if it is really good for you or bad for you, right? That thing you can decide on your own. I would argue that maybe it's not so good to start your way that way, and I have learned kind of the hard way that I don't want to wake up with my phone in my hand. I actually want to wake up and recharge my energies properly before I'm giving my energy out into the world. So if you want to break that habit, you need to replace the behavior with something that is better for you. So let's say, for example, the cue is the same, right? You're waking up in the morning. But now, instead of grabbing your phone, maybe you want to get up and you want to stretch for 5 minutes. Or you want to actually just lay in bed and think about 3 things that you feel grateful for. Or you want to get up and the first thing you would like to do in this new habit is to walk outside and just take a couple of deep breaths of fresh air. That could be the new behavior, and then obviously there will be a reward connected to that. So If you want to create a new habit, that is kind of how you need to set yourself up for success. You need to first identify what is the cue, what is the behavior, what is the reward currently, and what do you want to replace that behavior with. And then at the beginning, yes, it might feel really, really difficult to do that because obviously, automatically, your brain is wired to do this old pattern of cue, behavior, and reward. So at the beginning, and that's why we often talk about 28 days to form a new habit, or 35 days, or 200 days. There are so many different days out there of how long it takes to form a habit that honestly, I don't really believe in that. I think there is obviously something to be said about just having a streak, and we'll talk about streaks here in a moment, to just kind of get you into this new habit. But imagine you have been doing something for many, many, many years, then it's obviously going to take a while to break through that habit, but it doesn't mean that you should give up before you have even started. So let's talk about a couple of practical tips on how to kickstart your habit building. The first thing that you can do in order to kickstart your habit building is to habit stack, the power of habit stacking. What is habit stacking? It kind of already tells you by the name of it, but you basically stack one habit on top of another. So let's say, for example, you wake up in the morning and you go to the kitchen to make yourself a cup of coffee. And while you make a cup of coffee, you want to stretch for a minute. Or while you make your coffee and you wait, you want to journal for a minute, right? That would be habit stacking. So a habit that you already have that you like to keep in your life, you just stack on something new to that in order to not forget about the new habit that you want to create. And what I find really helpful in that regard as well, and that is the second point and the second powerful practical tip that I want to share with you today, is to make it the power of vision and the power of visual cues. Because oftentimes, especially at the beginning, we might forget about that new habit that we are trying to build because we are so in this automated process that we simply forget that that's what we wanted to do in the first place. So in order to make this habit stick, make sure that you're creating a visual cue for yourself. For example, you could have a piece of paper or a journal sitting right next to your coffee maker in order to help you create that awareness. Hey, when I committed to the fact that when I am making coffee, I'm going to journal for 3 to 5 minutes, for example, right? So visual cues, super, super powerful. Something that I've actually read in Atomic Habits by James Clear, a book that I highly encourage you to read, and a video on my YouTube channel that I encourage you to watch if you're curious about the power of habit building. And it's honestly completely changed my life, because now that I'm aware of that visual cue and how important that is, I literally put things in my way that I don't want to forget about, because I know, hey, if I, for example, want to take a new supplement in the morning, and let's be honest, we oftentimes forget to take supplements because they're just standing somewhere where we don't see them and we regularly forget about them. I put them somewhere where I know I will be in the morning and where I don't forget. So visual cues, super important if you want to create habits that stick. The next thing that is super important to talk about is to start small and be specific. I talk about SMART goals all the time, but we kind of forget about that they exist, and we are not really clear on what the goal actually is for that habit that we're trying to create. So take a moment to reflect on what is the new habit that you're trying to build and what is the goal behind it, and make that as specific and small as possible. So it is not specific enough to say, I want to be more active or I want to work out more. That is too generic. But if you want to make it really specific and clear for yourself and the people maybe even around you, then you want to make sure that that habit and that goal is as specific and small as possible. For example, I would like to be more active, and I'm going to start working out 3 times a week for 30 minutes starting next week, starting on Monday, starting on Tuesday, whatever it is, okay? That is, if you can hopefully see, a much more specific goal. And I cannot tell you how often I have to go through this with my clients, because they say these generic things that I just told you about, and we think that this is good enough in order to get started. But oftentimes it keeps us from being as successful as we actually want to be. So make sure that your goal is specific and small. The next practical tip that I have for you in the habit building process is to track your progress. I find that so powerful and so important to track my progress and to celebrate these little wins along the way, especially at the beginning, because it keeps me motivated and accountable to my own goals. So make sure that you track your progress, and you can do this in a lot of different ways. You can, for example, download a specific app, right? There are so many million different apps out there nowadays that help you to track your progress. For example, I really like to use Strava because I like to take a look at Strava and I like to add a picture to my activities that I do during the week, and it just helps me to be accountable, and I love to look back at these things. Another really easy thing could be to just print out the calendar overview for the particular month that you're in right now. And every time you achieved that goal that you have set for yourself, or that new habit that you're trying to integrate into your life, you just simply check the box for that particular day. And that's, again, a visual cue that actually tells you that you're being successful. So put that piece of paper somewhere where you see it. Put it at your fridge. Put it at your bedside table, put it at your desk, and make sure that you're actually checking these little boxes. And it's a little bit gamification, and I honestly really love it, and it's made a huge difference in my life because it just kind of makes me feel good. That's my reward at the end of the day, right? We talked about cue, behavior, reward, and the reward of checking that box every day makes me feel really good. And it doesn't have to be every day. Maybe you just want to do your habit every 2 or 3 days. That's totally okay as well, but track it and celebrate these small wins. Another tip that I love is to utilize the power of streaks. Streaks are ways on where you're streaking a habit that you're trying to create. Let's say, for example, you would like to get into running and you want to create a streak of 30 days, which means that every day you go for a run, no matter if it is half a mile, 2 miles, 3 miles, 4 miles, and so on. This has been something super, super powerful and helpful in my life, especially when I do it together with a friend, because it just helps you to build that new habit and build that new automated behavior. And it kind of keeps these, these excuses out that we oftentimes come up with when we are starting to create a new habit. Because sometimes we think, I don't really have the energy today, I'll do it tomorrow. And so then with this streaking, it's kind of impossible, right? Because you do it every single day, even if you just do it for 10 or 15 minutes a day. But that kind of gives you that momentum to get into a new habit, and I really, really love it, and I highly encourage you to try it out. The next thing that's super important, and I kind of mentioned it already, is to use the power of accountability. So I already mentioned when I am trying to have a streak, I sometimes include a friend in that streak because it is just so much easier to stick to it sometimes when you have somebody that holds you accountable and that is on the same path and journey. So that shares the same challenges, that shares the same difficulties that you have. And I think back to my friend Sarah and I doing a 30-day running challenge last year, and it was so cool because we checked in with each other every day if we went on our run or not. And some days I felt really good and I went for a run, and then I checked in with her and she texted me and said, oh, I'm having such a hard time today to do this, and I can encourage her and motivate her to do it. And some days it was the other way around. So having an accountability buddy, especially someone that is doing the same thing with you, is super, super powerful and super helpful for you to stick to your goals. So make sure that if you want to create a habit that you really want to stick to find an accountability buddy. And finally, the most important thing that I believe is the secret to sticking to your routines and habits long term is to embrace failure and learn from it. Yes, we all fail in the process of building habits, but the people that are successful realize and know that we are not perfect and that sometimes things get in the way, but it doesn't mean that you fail and you just give up, but that you can always start again. I love that concept, and it's something that I constantly remind myself of, because yes, I also sometimes fail in the new habits that I'm trying to pursue. You can watch my Plan With Me video series to see a little bit more insight into that on a monthly basis, because I report on what is working well, what is not working so well in my own life. And I always embrace that failure, and I look at what can I learn from this experience and how can I do better in the future, right? So I look at what worked, what didn't work. Was my goal and my habit specific enough, or was it not specific enough? And so all of these different insights help me to set myself up better for success the next time I try. So learn from your mistakes and don't give up, and remind yourself that you can always start again. I hope that all of these different tips were helpful for you today in order to break the secret of habit building and to simply just get started. Because the biggest gap in life is between knowing things and actually doing them. So I hope that you get into action, and I hope to hear from you. Leave me a comment down below and let me know what kind of habit it is that you're trying to build. And I really hope to see you in the next video. So until then, take good care of yourself, and I hope to see you soon.